Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Routine Podcast.
Gymnastics Conversations.
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chelsea's mom, Diana.
And we're back for episode 44.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi, Mom.
We missed an episode last week.
We did.
Yeah, we apologize, but couldn't be avoided. We actually had a death in our family.
Yes.
So the last thing on our minds was putting together a podcast. But we're back.
Back and better than ever.
Let's hope so.
We'll see at the end of this episode. But we had so many tweets, specifically from our last episode, episode 43. The first one from at 2015 Bars Champ, and they said, "So glad you guys mentioned the Michigan meet in this episode. They're my favorite team." And I actually did that on purpose. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to the meet. Besides, I wanted to watch the meet.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of our listeners are Michigan fans, and we don't get the chance to talk about Michigan a lot.
Right, exactly. We don't get to see them as much as we want to see them.
Yes. And I think they're a really good team. I feel like every year they show potential throughout the year, but then when it comes to nationals, things just kind of crumble.
Yeah, not this time, though. Not this time.
Yeah, so hopefully they can hold it together. They look very strong.
How did Maryland look? Chelsea's taking a deep breath.
I want Maryland to be good.
We've always wanted Maryland to be good.
I think that was a very off night for them.
Yeah.
Because since that meet, they've been doing very well.
Good.
Actually, this past weekend, they beat Ohio State.
Yeah, so good.
And Ohio State was undefeated in the Big Ten Conference until
Maryland beat them.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good job, Maryland.
Yeah.
And speaking of local teams, we actually have a voicemail from Jen. She's not talking about Maryland, but she's talking about Towson, our other local team.
Hi, Chelsea and Diane. My name is Jen. I am from Delaware, and I wanted to leave you a voicemail because I have been a listener since episode 1. And once you mentioned Towson Gymnastics, I knew I had to call in. I am a Towson University alumni. I was actually on the Towson University dance team, and I attended a few meets when I was a student at Towson. And Casey Catanzaro, who was on American Ninja Warrior, she was actually a gymnast on the team when I attended those meets. And I'm hoping that Mary can bring some pizzazz and energy to Towson University's program. I also want to shout out, I am actually from Middletown, Delaware, which is where Morgan Hurd is from. And I actually trained at the same gym many, many years ago before she was probably even born, under Slava. And I'm going to speak for the state. We are so proud of Morgan Hurd and her accomplishments on being a world champion, and just wanted to give those 2 shout outs and keep doing what you're doing. I love the podcast and I look forward to it every week. Thanks, ladies.
And for those who don't know, Morgan Hurd was the world all-around champion in 2017. I really like your comments about Towson. Hopefully Mary can bring some pizzazz to the team, Mary and Jason.
Uh-huh.
But it seemed like they were both very hopeful about the team.
Yeah, exactly. When we did the interview, they really were. And that brings us to another tweet from Kinty Mack. Kinty says, "I think it would be so much fun to take a road trip with Chelsea and Diana from the Routine Podcast. It would be an amazing, hilarious, wild adventure." And he's telling the truth. Anytime Chelsea and I do something, it is an adventure. A BTW, do you know what meets you will be going to for the rest of the season? So, yes, we're going to go to Towson to see Mary and Jason. Well, actually, we're going to go to Towson to see the Towson gymnast and Mary and Jason. And the head coach, too, right? We probably should mention that. And Mary and Jason.
But yeah, they have a couple of home meets still this season. We'll see which one we go to.
I know, we're running out of time.
I know, it's already like mid-February.
I can't even believe it. But still on our schedule is Oklahoma and UCLA.
Which is March 3rd.
Right.
Which we are very excited about.
It's locked and loaded.
But hopefully the scoring is under control, which we will be talking about later in this episode. But we will be at that meet.
Well, I was going to say, hopefully the weather will hold out, but I guess we should think about scoring too, huh?
I wasn't even thinking about the weather.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah. I think other than UCLA and Oklahoma, we plan to stay local for the rest of the year, except for nationals.
That's true. We're going to go to Dallas. I still want to see Maryland. I know you've seen them twice without me.
I have.
And I still want to see an NAIGC meet And so on this show, we're actually going to talk to Tim. Tim's the president of the organization, and he's going to talk a little bit about the upcoming meets and what they've got planned.
We also got a tweet from Sam as a dancer. And in our last episode, we talked about how Alicia Boren made ESPN's top 10. She was actually number 3 out of 10.
I remember.
Sam as a dancer actually knows the producer who works on ESPN's top 10.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she actually tweeted her and she said, I just wanted to let you guys know that my friend Nessa Dickerson is the one who works for ESPN and was doing the top 10 on Friday and made sure Alicia made it in. She's a retired gymnast from Maryland, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Sam as a dancer has connections with ESPN and made sure the producer saw this Alicia Boren routine. And that's how it made the top 3 because she's a former gymnast.
Yes. And so I tweeted at Nessa saying, thank you for bringing NCAA Gym to ESPN. And she said, oh, you're welcome. So it's like, it's exciting to like really get in contact with someone.
Sure.
So it's cool.
Sure. And it should have been in the top 10 on ESPN.
And then the following week, that following Sunday, Addie DeJesus from Nebraska, her vault, which was a beautiful 1.5, made ESPN's top 10. So thank you, Nessa.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you, Nessa, so much. And thank you, Sam, as a dancer.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. What other connects do you have? Hit us up. And then one of the last tweets we got was actually from a commentator.
We are rising in this world. We are hearing from producers, from ESPN, from gymnastics commentators. Look at us.
Yes. From Christina Chavounet. She actually wrote us a thread, which I thought was really interesting. She said, I struggle with this balance as an NCAA gym commentator. I do try and explain rules because I think the base knowledge in the US about basketball, etc., is a lot higher than gymnastics. There are a lot of new fans that are out watching NCAA gym that may want/need some explanation to draw them in. I also try and include high-level analysis on skills and upgrades for hardcore fans. My thought is hardcore fans will stick with me while I explain 6 up, 5 count. But if I don't explain, for example, scoring, newer fans may just think I don't understand and stop watching. It's definitely a tricky balance, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts and suggestions.
I think that's such a good question. You know, we want to try to make this sport accessible. And so it really is a tricky balance in terms of how detailed to get. You know, I'm a fan, you're a super fan, but more importantly, you're a knowledgeable super fan. So you're able to see things that I'm not able to see. And I really am listening to the commentators to help me understand.
Yeah.
You know, especially Kathy Johnson Clark, right? Where she's showing you the picture of the handstand. She's talking about the leaps and, you know, showing you again where the leap should be. Even I think what I find fascinating is a vault. You know, for me, it's really easy to know whether they stuck a vault, but the entry in, were the elbows straight, what did the form look like, how far out the vault lands, all of those things are things that I don't see. Do you see it when you're watching them necessarily?
I do. It's actually funny because a lot of the times whenever I'm watching gymnastics where there is a commentator, I think in my head, ooh, that was a little short, or ooh, her arms were bent there before the commentator says it.
Really?
So it's kind of almost reassuring that, okay, yeah, I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it, by the way, as a super fan, as Mom likes to call me. I don't mind hearing things that I already know.
It's validation.
Exactly. And if it means that more people are going to be able to understand the sport, then talk about kind of the basic knowledge.
I think all that's true. I think where it does get even more tricky is the scoring, right? Because then you've got all of this subjectivity that's happening. We're going to talk about the meet 2 weeks ago with Oklahoma and Florida, because that one is like the perfect example of where the scoring, you don't
What's
even
happening.
Yeah, you don't understand how those scores are coming together.
Yeah.
So, you know, the commentating can get us only so far before you get to the judges and scoring and understanding that mess.
Yeah. And I just want to say kudos to you for being a commentator. I know that it's a very hard job. There are lines that you don't want to cross, but you also want to deliver information to all of the viewers. So my advice would be to, talk about basic things that knowledgeable gym fans know about, because it's not hurting anyone in the process. You're just allowing others to learn things that they may not know already.
And like you said, it's also validating what you did see yourself as a knowledgeable viewer.
Exactly.
And again, for me, that is less knowledgeable on the sport, it's very, very helpful. I'm not a big fan of the step-by-step description of the skill that they just did.
Every skill. Walking
Yes.
through the whole routine.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that because you might call it a Rudy 100 times and I still don't know what a Rudy looks like.
That's a good point.
But other than that, I think commentators do an exceptional job.
Yes.
Judges, on the other hand,
we have a bone to pick. After I tweeted that there was going to be no new episode last week, I got a couple of tweets saying that people wanted to hear our opinion about the Oklahoma-Florida meet.
That was something, Chelsea. And I've been trying to behave this season.
As you guys may or may not remember, Florida went to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma is ranked number 1. Florida is ranked number 2. So everyone was just geared up, ready for this great meet that was going to happen.
Right. These new freshmen from Florida, these experienced juniors and seniors from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
We were excited. And it was in Oklahoma. I think that's important to say as well. It was not in Florida.
Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of great things that came out of the meet. I think Oklahoma had the highest recording attendance ever. They did 6 10-0 vaults, Oklahoma.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I love that.
So there were a lot of great things that came out of it. Basically, everyone on the Gymternet was watching it if they were able to. Somehow we were able to get the channel. So thank you, Mom's Cable subscription, for that. And I think the meet started off well.
It did.
Oklahoma looked really good on vault. And this was interesting because Maggie is injured and Oklahoma doesn't have as much depth as they probably would like. So a lot of Oklahoma's kind of star, quote unquote, players weren't in. One of our listeners actually sent us audio from the meet after Nicole Lehrman got her first 10-0 on bars.
Yeah, I loved it. It's a different way to use our voicemail.
Right.
Send us audio.
So thank you, Sarah East. And then I think it kind of started to get a little
wonky, we'll say.
Yeah. Towards the end of the second rotation when Oklahoma was on bars, Florida was on vaults, and then into beam for sure when Oklahoma was on beam and Florida was on floor. When Brianna Shower split the beam and still got a 9.5. When a fall is 5/10 minimum.
Yeah.
So we're not going to walk through the whole meet
No,
because
and it was 2 weeks ago.
Right. But what were your thoughts on scoring, Mom?
I think Florida would have won and would have been number 1 in the country right now.
Really?
I do.
You know what that means, though? Like, what goes into that? It's not like you just have to beat the number 1 team to be number 1.
But they've won all of their meets.
I know, but it's about the score.
And they've won all of their meets with high scores.
But not as high as Oklahoma.
Really?
Oklahoma's had like 3 or 4 198s.
And what's Florida's score been?
I think they've hit 198 once.
Oh, so they wouldn't be number 1 right now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, they would have won the meet.
Yes, which is still a big thing to say, to beat the number 1 team at their home. As the meet went on, the scores just got more and more
ridiculous.
Ridiculous is a good way to put it. And I just honestly wanted to turn off the meet.
I did too. I was done at that point. Because what was the point of watching? Other than watching Trinity. That was the point of keeping to watch TV at that point, right?
We had already seen Florida's floor lineup. So, like, what's the point of watching?
Did you see? I know we're not done with that meet, but to fast forward to where we are now, did you see her this week?
Trinity?
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's so good. I'm just waiting for her to get a 10 on bars. Waiting.
Well, I'm just saying, even if she doesn't get a 10 on bars, which she will, we're all at 9,975s on 4 events.
I know. So good. I just think, generally speaking, when scores, and I'm not just talking about this meet, when scores are crazy ridiculous like that, it makes me not want to watch meets,
I know.
which is really unfortunate. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way.
I think the one thing that I would say, and this is to help the judges, this is better than it was last year. Last year, this was happening regularly throughout the country. This is the first time we saw anything this ridiculous this whole year.
Things have been questionable. This isn't the first meet for sure, but this is like the first meet. And I think what makes this one stand out more is that the stakes were so high at this meet.
And they were in Oklahoma.
Right.
That's the issue. The home team judging.
Home team advantage.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
the scoring goes into.
Yeah. So scoring is like a whole episode in itself, but I think something needs to be done with the whole scoring situation because honestly, truly, the sport is going to start losing fans if they don't figure this out.
I think the answer to this is going to be what Jason talked about in our previous episode, where we start uploading the routine to Road to Nationals. And judges can compare this 9.9 score routine to this 9.9 routine and know that it is dramatically different. And that's going to keep them honest, I think.
Yeah, but what are the repercussions?
I think they'll change. I think it's like what happened in the Saints in their playoffs to the Super Bowl. And the guy, clearly it's a pass interference call that doesn't get called. People talk about it and then changes happen. I think that's what has to happen. The public shaming has to happen. And there's no doubt that us still talking about this 2 weeks ago, Oklahoma doesn't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that people don't think they won the meet fair and square. They don't want to hear that. That's what I think.
Well, I hope everybody else is able to move on as well. But I agree with a lot of our listeners where something just needs to happen.
To me, it goes back to, what we talked about earlier in the episode. There's got to be a better way to score that it's easier to see, that everybody can see. Like, for instance, basketball. If the ball goes in the hoop, that's 2 points. Everybody can see that. I think if we can come up with a way that it's very obvious what the score should be versus these judges putting marks on their paper and then holding up this card of what the score is. I think, and I don't know how you ever get around that, but to me, that's what makes it so subjective.
I agree with that, but I think where that's hard is that one Yurchenko full looks different than another Yurchenko full.
Yeah.
Like Sarah Finnegan's Yurchenko full looks a lot different than a Yurchenko full that I used to do. But it starts from the same. It's things like that where it makes it a lot harder than just, they did this, so let's mark it as this. Let's do this, Yeah,
I do. But then that's where you get into the subjectivity then, that hers is prettier than hers.
Yeah.
And this is where you end up.
I guess that's just the sport of gymnastics.
Yeah. Which is where I go, where Jason's video shaming, which I know that's not what he calls it. But if I look at this routine that got this score and I look at this routine that got the same score and the routines are dramatically different, I'm going to question the judges.
So that's where we end the conversation on this because we could just keep going all day.
Agreed. And again, it was 2 weeks ago. Let's move on.
This past week, there were a couple of meets. One that stuck out to me was LSU at Kentucky.
My head is just hanging. It's just hanging down right now.
Mom could barely keep her eyes open.
It was just sadness. All on the screen, just a big ball of sadness.
We can move on, but another meet that was similar to that in my eyes was Nebraska at Minnesota. At both of these meets, there were falls in the first rotation, and the teams just weren't able to come back from there.
Yeah. Let's just move on.
But let me say one more thing.
Okay, and then we move on.
Clearly, I've touched a sore spot for Mom.
I just can't.
But this past week, Devora Myers wrote an article about having 5 up, 5 count for scoring.
Was an interesting article. You sent that to me.
I did.
Very interesting.
We're not going to talk about it today, but I feel like it's brought up a lot of discussion within the Gymternet. So if you guys want us to talk about it and share our opinions on that, let us know, and we'll talk about it on an upcoming episode.
And are you going to include the link so folks can get the chance to read it if they haven't?
Yes, I'll include the link on our website, and maybe we can have just like a little group chat. Because I think people are either really on one end of the spectrum or really on the other. So we'd love to talk about it on a future show.
I think so too.
Another meet. Maryland beat Ohio State. Woo!
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier in the show, but yeah, it's worth repeating.
Yeah, unfortunately, we weren't able to go to the meet, but I heard it was fantastic. I heard the crowd was great. So congrats to Maryland. And it was their highest score so far this season. So keep going, Maryland Terrapins.
And then there was the Auburn versus Florida meet. That was a really interesting one because at that point, Auburn and Florida were undefeated in the SEC. So that was a great meet to watch. Auburn did well.
Auburn did well. It definitely was not their best meet. Deep down inside, I kind of wanted Auburn to win.
Did you?
Yeah, because
they're the underdog.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's just the SEC regular season.
And they're still, again, they've only lost one meet.
I know, right?
So I just think it's great.
Yeah.
And again, Darian looked fabulous yet again.
She did.
So that was a really good meet to watch. And then you had Rutgers, and Rutgers beat Penn State.
Yes. And I know some of our listeners were at that meet, and they said that meet was really, really great too. I think a lot of the alumni were there. So they were loud and rowdy, and I think it was the second best score in program history.
We got to go to a Rutgers meet too. That's not that far either.
And the new head coach, Celine Beasley.
You mentioned that before.
She's already making her mark.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We got to go. We got to go to Rutgers too.
Yes.
So it was a great weekend of meets.
And as we mentioned earlier, NAIGC is in full swing right now. We actually had the opportunity to talk to Tim earlier this season, and he shared what we can expect this season from NAIGC and what he's looking forward to as president of the organization.
So we are joined by Tim Michaels. Tim is president of the NAIGC. Hi, Tim.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back. Excited to be here.
Oh, it's so good to have you back. You know, last time we chatted, we said that throughout next season, we would have you back just to check in to see how things are going.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, for those who have not had the chance to listen to that last podcast, can you do a quick kind of description of the NAIGC for us?
Sure. So the NAIGC is the club sports governing body for collegiate club gymnastics and a lot of adult and community gymnastics as well. So we have a network of meets hosted by clubs throughout the season, and then we have regional championships and a large open national championship, which is kind of our feature event where anybody is able to come. There's several days of qualifying competition and then a big fun final session. And when you talk about season, it's not the typical season that we normally think of for gymnastics, right? So the season, like the months are the same. It's a December, January through April. The meets are more styled like a JO meet. You don't get like kind of dual meets and things like that, but it's more just like a club will host a meet and then a bunch of clubs will come and you have multiple sessions that run throughout a day or something like that. Gotcha. So we had the chance to look at lots of different meets. We had the chance to look at, I think it was the Grand Valley meet. We were fascinated. I have to tell you, we saw, I think it was a gentleman by the name of Tom Gibbs from Illinois do uneven bars. Yes, he's very exciting. One to watch for the decathlon. Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about Tom? Yeah, so I believe he was on the British junior national team and possibly the senior national team. He competed for Illinois for the NCAA. And then the past couple years, I think he's been working out with the club team. He comes to meets and he's really exciting to watch. And he's just a good guy. He's very loud, very vocal. And then he competes all the men's events and he does a great uneven bars routine with the Ginger. Yeah, I think it's really exciting.
It is. And maybe, Chelsea, we can put that on the website for folks to see.
We'll link it on the website. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's better than I could ever do bars.
It was also fun. Chelsea found these, and I can say it, older individuals participating in gymnastics.
Yes. So I actually went to the Virginia Tech meet back in November, and there is this gentleman, I believe he's 54. He used to be on the varsity team at James Madison, and he did a great high bar routine. Yeah, with giants, line change, double back. It was really exciting just to see people doing the skills they can do and having fun. He would have never thought that he would have joined the sport back again 30 years after he quit.
Yeah, so I'm 55, and just watching that hurt every part of my body.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Chelsea can share it with you, but you inspired Chelsea to go back in the gym.
Oh, that's so exciting.
You did. I went to Open Gym probably about a month or two ago, and a lot of the people that were in Open Gym were also in NAIGC. So it was kind of like a full connection going on. It was pretty cool.
That's great. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, but I think it was kind of your words of encouragement to everybody, obviously not just Chelsea, but to everybody, to, if it's the sport that you love, this is a place that you can do it. And I think that resonated with her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love to hear that. I think that's just what we're all about, is people that want to do it at some level or just want to love it, have fun, want to get better, want to, rekindle that joy. That's really exciting.
And the other thing, Tim, I think, again, we were going and looking through the website, we saw something called the Virtual Stars Championship.
Yeah.
That sounded like fun.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a really good opportunity, especially for these clubs that don't have, some of them don't have coaches sometimes, or just access to a judge, or sometimes they're just like geographically very isolated space that doesn't have a lot of other clubs. And this just gives them opportunity to compete in a pretty laid back environment. It's kind of, I think of it like kind of like an inter squad type thing, except you're competing against other people. So you can film your routines and then get them judged by high level judges. And, you get sent medals, and kind of you have all the similar stuff as a meet, except it's all online.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So just so that we make sure people understand it. So how will it work again?
As a team, you treat it like a meet. So I think you have a certain time frame in which you can submit routines, and you get into your uniforms, you salute, you treat it like a meet, except you video your routines, and then you send those routines in a certain time frame to a judge. The judge will judge all the routines and give you both a score and additional feedback. So for routine construction, just for places you're getting deductions, things like that. And then we post the results just like a meet.
And then you get a medal if you're in the top.
Yep.
That is so cool. And now, have you done that before, or is this the first year doing that?
I believe we did it last year was the first year.
Okay.
Here's the second year for it.
Do you know how many you expect to participate this year?
I think probably about a dozen clubs or so. So it's not super big, but I think it's growing, and it's a good resource, especially for some of those smaller clubs.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. As the president of the NAIGC, is there something or someone that you say we need to be on the lookout and watch for this year?
So the one thing I really love is, especially at nationals, you just never know. Like every now and then somebody will come out of the blue and just come from somewhere, and you're like, whoa, wow, where did that come from? Where's that been? So that's one part I really love about nationals. Team-wise, so on the guys' side, Oklahoma and Arizona State are like the teams to beat. And part of that comes down to depth. So Arizona State has like well over 50 people this year, which is crazy, just guys. On the women's side, team-wise, so Texas A&M, Penn State, James Madison, University of Rhode Island. So those guys are kind of traditionally the ones that are always there in the top, and I expect them to be really good. We also have some expression of interest from international teams. So we'll see who is able to make the trip over. A few years ago, we had a great team from Belgium that came and did really well on the women's side.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm excited to see if, maybe they come back.
Yeah.
And where will nationals be held?
Nationals will be in Daytona Beach, Florida.
It sounds like a trip, doesn't it, Chelsea? Are we already booked?
Yeah.
We may be booked, but anybody else that's interested, I'm sure it's great to watch.
Such a hard weekend because of all the championships that are going on.
Yeah.
But we'd love to you guys down.
Oh, I know. Wouldn't that be great? And it's Daytona Beach?
Right?
Yeah, Daytona Beach. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to look at the calendar.
Yeah. But at least we could, do like the live ups and live updates or something.
That would be great. Would you have time to do that for us?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely something we've wanted to do, is do some like live updating or live streaming or something like that. So maybe this could be the year for it.
I love it. I love it. So let's be in touch. I think it's a great idea. If we get the chance to actually go to a meet in person, I really would like to do that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Is there anything else that you want folks to know about NAIGC before you leave us?
Yeah, one cool new thing, we're actually offering TNT this year for the first time, which we're actually really excited about.
TNT?
This is so tramp and tumbling.
Okay.
Oh.
This is something that like doesn't really exist at the collegiate level. Like there's not even NCAA or anything for it. We talked to a lot of USAG coaches, and I think there's a lot of demand for something like that. So we're going to try it out at nationals this year, and we're excited.
Wow.
That would be you, wouldn't it?
That's like a really good idea because like you said, it's really only kind of elite and club. So there's nothing in the middle there.
Yeah. So I think we're excited about that.
So you're going to start it this year, but it will be at nationals. Is that?
Yes, we're starting. Yeah. So this year we're only doing the tumbling part just because we couldn't get the insurance together in time, but we're hoping to sanction a few like full TNT meets throughout the year. So we'll see.
It's a great idea.
Well, Tim, it's been great chatting with you. I just, again, this is something that I just think is very inspirational for people who love the sport to continue to do it however they want to do it to the best of their ability. And the fact that you inspired Chelsea to get back in the gym, I think it's exactly what, your organization is about. And we love chatting with you. And again, I hope we can come to one of your meets.
Yeah, that'd be so great. I love talking to you guys. Your show is awesome. And thanks for having me on.
So, another episode down. What are we looking forward to for next weekend?
Next weekend, Arkansas is at Auburn. So hopefully Auburn can take the W there. And then Florida is at Alabama. So hopefully those freshmen can stay strong in the Coleman Coliseum.
Maybe Trinity will get her first 10.
Maybe. Nebraska will be at Ohio State. Hopefully Ohio State can kind of get it together this weekend. I know they've been doing great until this past weekend at Maryland. And D2 alert, Texas Women's University will compete at Lindenwood University. So that should be a really great matchup.
So those are the meets to look forward to. And I think also don't forget to read the article. Chelsea's going to put the link on the website. We'd love to have some tweets or voicemail about that.
Yes. And as always, if you like what you're hearing, be sure to give us 5 stars on the Apple Podcast app. Leave us a comment if you like what you're hearing and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And